Welcome back to From the Shed End. I hope you're all doing well on this Wednesday evening. I hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to the game tomorrow. Now, before we get into today's video, please make sure you go to the channel, you like the video, you subscribe to the channel as well, and let me know your thoughts in the comments as well about what we're going to be talking about. Now, we do have an important game tomorrow. Whether we want to believe it's an important game or not, it's still an important game. We're playing Servette in the UEFA Conference League, European football. Champions League is a well distant memory for Chelsea fans at the moment, but we are playing in European competition tomorrow at Stamford Bridge under the lights again. Whether it's at the top of the European pyramid or the very bottom, we will take it. But I do look at where we are in terms of the European competition, which we're going to talk about in a minute. We should be one of the favourites to win it. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow's game. But before we get into the game and the match preview, let's talk about some transfer related news first, because obviously Conor Gallagher, if you are aware today, completed his transfer to Atletico Madrid. The 24-year-old has signed after agreement was done for both clubs, 42 million euros, which includes an undisclosed sell-on clause for Chelsea as well. Now, obviously, this part of this deal was, I think, originally was part of the Samu Emerdian's deal to come to Chelsea. Obviously, that deal fell through. There was an issue which then delayed Conor Gallagher, who was stuck out in Madrid for some time. He was unable to get basically his deal done in time for him to start La Liga, but he flew back. He's been training with the Cobham graduates, if you can call them that. Flew out last night, got the deal done. He'd already done a medical. He was happy to sign, from what I'm aware of. And the deal's now been done. It's been confirmed. He was training today with the Atletico players. Azpilicueta took him under his wing straight away. And I think as Chelsea fans, we can all wish Conor Gallagher the best. Hopefully he goes out there and he performs really well. My worry for Conor Gallagher, if I've got any worries at the moment, is I think, especially when you look at Real Madrid and they look at English players that normally go to Spain, you know, they'll see Jude Bellingham's gone over there. He's done really well for them. You know, their £100 million player that they signed, you know, some time ago has just left Atletico and has gone to Chelsea. So they're going to probably expect something out of Conor Gallagher straight away. And I think he's a Diego Simeone player in terms of the energy, the pressing, you know, the engine that's on Conor Gallagher. We know last season how many kilometres he was running per game. But I do worry that he might struggle to adapt initially to the football over there. That could be a worry for him. But I would not be surprised if we see Conor Gallagher back in the Premier League next season or the season after that. You know, he's still young. As I said, he's only 26, very young in terms of, you know, being able to go over to Spain, test himself over there. And if that doesn't work, he can always come back to the Premier League or another league in Europe and test himself there as well. So he's got a lot of potential, Conor Gallagher. He signs a 5-year deal with Atletico that keeps him there till 2029. Had a really good season last season for Chelsea, scoring 7 goals, 9 assists in 50 appearances in all competitions. So we do lose a bit of quality in terms of what Conor Gallagher was able to bring to the team at Chelsea last season. Obviously, captain for a massive duration of his time last season at Chelsea's final season. But I think it's probably the right move, the right time for him to move on. I think if the manager, the owner, especially the owner, Todd Bowley and whoever else, was not keen on keeping Conor Gallagher, he was exiled and told not to train with the senior squad. You know, he didn't really have a choice but to find another club very quickly as well. So all the best to Conor Gallagher. I think he'll do well there. I hope he settles in very well. And who knows, we might at some point be playing him again very, very soon. We never know. But let's talk Joao Felix, who has also moved today. Joao Felix has signed a 7-year deal. An approximately 44.5 million deal has been done with Atletico and Chelsea. Personal terms were agreed early this week. A medical was completed yesterday. The official announcement was put out today. David Ornstein did confirm this as well yesterday. So David Ornstein said that the deal was completed for the signing of Joao Felix from Atletico Madrid. A deal approximately 44.5 million has been agreed by both clubs. There are no add-ons, but Atletico have negotiated negotiated a sell-on clause as part of this deal. The 24-year-old finished a medical and personal terms are in place on a 6-year contract plus option of an additional 12 months. Joao Felix will fit into Chelsea's wage structure with the performance-related bonuses. The move would see Joao Felix return to the West London club, having spent the second half of the 22-23 season on loan at Chelsea, scoring 4 goals in 20 appearances. So, what does Joao Felix bring to Chelsea? I think he's going to bring some competition in those areas. We're going to talk about Raheem Sterling in a minute, but obviously there's other teams that will look at Raheem Sterling now. Maybe Mudryk might be in the window. Noni Madueke, who we spoke about before on the latest podcast, they might be now suitors out there thinking you brought in Joao Felix. Raheem Sterling looks 100% like he's leaving. So I think he'll be an addition. We got to see a glimpse of what he could do on his loan. Obviously, it was a massive loan deal. He was suspended for a large proportion of those games. I think it was against Fulham. He got the red card. So he missed 3 of those games. So it was a very expensive loan. But I've always said that Joao Felix is someone who's very creative on the ball and someone who will, I think personally, will link up very well with Christopher Nkunku, will link up very well with Cole Palmer. You look at Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, Lavia, that midfield that we've got there as well. And I think he'll fit into what Maresca's trying to do at the club. You know, I think he's someone that looks like a really good player, very young still as well. We've got to remember he's still a young player who's been around, you know, he's been at Barcelona on loan, he's been back to Atletico as well. So he's someone that obviously comes with a heavy price tag, no fault of his own, but I think he's going to have to come in and just, again, I keep saying this a lot this season already, but hit the ground running. You know, he's going to have to get up to speed with where we are in terms of what Maresca's trying to get the team to do and make sure that he can fit into whatever's happening at Chelsea at the moment. And look, I like Joao Felix. I think a lot of fans, you know, give him a lot. I think a lot of fans have already sort of written him off because of the fact that Conor Gallagher's had to leave the club. And I know a lot of people will have a lot of sentiment and they get attached to players, especially youth players that have come through the ranks at Chelsea or any club. But it's a business. Football is literally just a business. Players are going to come and go. You're going to have favourites that you might like, you know, for a period of time at your club. But if they move on, they move on. You just have to wish them the best. And I think we have to give Joao Felix the chance to prove that he is good enough to play at Chelsea on a long-term perspective rather than a loan deal. And I think let's not overshadow what's happened to Conor Gallagher and blame that on Joao Felix if he's not performing in the first game. If he starts against Wolves, then let's give him better time and be patient with him and see what he can do and how he gels with the rest of the attacking midfielders. But I'm looking forward to Joao Felix. I think the fee's a bit much. The contract's a bit much for him, but you know, the money is the money, the fee is the fee. You know, the way that the club probably look at it is they've got pure profit on the books by selling Conor Gallagher. So, you know, I think they'll be looking at it from that perspective as well. But let's talk. Oh, and before we move on, Ben Burrows from The Athletic also as well. Chelsea have given Raheem Sterling's squad number to their new signing Pedro Neto. The winger, 29, is no longer in the club's plans and has expressed a preference to leave the club permanently before next week's transfer deadline. Neto arrived from Wolverhampton Wanderers early this month and was unveiled as Chelsea's number 19 on the show's social media channel. We also did plug that today. Shout out to Theo for plugging that on our channel as well. But a week later, the Portuguese made his debut for the club in the Premier League, defeat by Manchester City, and wore the number 19 when coming on from the bench. But will now switch to 7 for the remainder of the season, the number he sported at Wolves. Sterling has worn 7 since joining Chelsea from City in the summer of 2022. So Chelsea have also confirmed that Neto's fellow new signing, Joao Felix, who joined from Atletico Madrid on Wednesday, will wear 14, the squad number previously worn by Trevor Chalobah. So what does that mean? Boy, what does that mean? What does that mean for Trevor Chalobah, Raheem Sterling? It clearly tells you that the manager clearly does not have you in his plans at all. Which is sad for Chalobah. Again, another youth graduate, someone who's come through the ranks. Raheem Sterling, another one who, you know, 29, I said yesterday, and I said on the podcast, you know, he should be someone that's the experienced player now. So I think, you know, if he wants to leave on a permanent, I think we have to let him go. He's on 300 and something grand a week currently at the club. And I think if we were to try and keep him, is he going to fit into Maresca's plans? According to Maresca today, as part of his press conference, he clearly says in here, you know, Simon Johnson reports, you know, Enzo Maresca insists Chelsea are not in a mess over the size of their squad and denied he's been brutal over the action of senior players like Raheem Sterling. Chelsea has come under a lot of negative scrutiny over the amount of players they have on the books. Several first-team players, including Ben Chilwell and Sterling, have been ordered to train away from the main group as the club tried to move them on and cut down the number of senior pros. Maresca says that the situation is not a negative distraction because he's only been working with the players he prefers since the club returned from their pre-season tour of the United States early this month. It's already the first 11 we want, the squad we want, the Italian said. I'm not working with 32 players. That is something from outside. I'm working with 21 players. Today's training session was with 20 players. Yesterday was 21. The other 15 to 20 are training apart. I don't see them. It's not a mess that it looks like from the outside. I'm here to take decisions and to think who is best for us. I'm not thinking about how many years on their contracts. It's not my job. If they don't like them, they can have 20-year contracts. I don't care. I'm just here to make the right decisions for the team. No more than that. Now, that was Maresca in his press conference. That was Simon Johnson from the Athletic reporting that today. I haven't got an issue with that. I really haven't got an issue with that. I think we needed a manager. When we had Graham Potter, we were screaming out we needed someone who was going to be ballsy, going to be brave, bold, stand up, have a character, have a personality. And I feel like he is the player that can do that. I feel like he's a manager that can do that. I feel like he's a manager that comes in, speaks the right way in terms of the press conferences, doesn't take any shit from the journalist either. And if he doesn't think that Raheem Sterling, Ben Chilwell, Trevor Chalobah, all of these players are going to fit into his plans, then I agree. Don't have them around the 20 or 21 players that you're trying to train. My concern is how they're being treated by the club. You know, being moved on in a way where you're not allowed in the senior men's dressing room. You're not allowed to train with the senior squad. I don't really get that, because you could still have everyone training together. Maybe they are, but you could have everyone training together at Cobham and only you work on a select few people. But from what it sounds like, they're actually being told to go and train the other side of Cobham Football Training Complex, which, if that is the case, then that is crazy. But this is the club. This is the culture that's in the club now, and it's here now. So we have to get on with it. We're not going to change it by kicking up a fuss every day on social media or talking about it and, you know, amongst our friends. But if that's the culture of the club, unfortunately. And, you know, a lot of players, when you sign these big 6-7 year contracts, you know, you do, you know, as much as the money sounds great, the money sounds nice, it's good for you to get the money. But if the manager says you're not in his plans and you've got 3 or 4 years left on your deal, you have to move on, or you're going to sit there and rot at a club for 4 years. You know, I know players that have done that, where they've ran down their contracts, but the money's great. But if you're 24, 25, 26, and you want to then run your 4-year contract down, and you're talking about 30 when you sign for another club, that's 4 years of football. That's just wasted away. So, you know, I think a lot of these players, you know, Ben Chilwell, another one who's been tipped for Manchester United. Axel Disasi's been told he might be linked. Well, he could go to Newcastle. There's talk of that as well. But Raheem Sterling has to move on now. You know, your squad number's been taken off you. Your manager's told you that you're not in the plans. You have to find a club by next Friday. So for me, I think Raheem Sterling, if Saudi don't come knocking, and he wants a permanent move, I can't see many Premier League, and he wants to stay in the Premier League as well. I can't see many Premier League clubs coming in for him. The only way maybe this could happen is if Anthony Gordon moves to Liverpool, Anthony Gordon moves there, Newcastle coming for Sterling, Sterling moves to Newcastle. I can't see any other club coming in for him, because his wages are too high. He's got 3 years left on the deal. The club are going to want a substantial amount that they paid for him back. He's not selling. They're not going to sell him for cheap. So he has to either make a decision to put his head down and fight and get back into that team at Cobham, which I think is very unlikely, especially after that statement he put out, or he needs to find a club by Friday. So I would not like to be in Raheem Sterling's shoes, even with the 300 grand a week. I think he's got a massive headache, massive dilemma. Now, let's move off the transfer talk for a minute, because obviously we do have a big game coming up tomorrow against Servette in the Europa League conference, as I said before. Home tie first. I look at the squad now. Again, there was talk about who was going to be involved, who's going to be included in the squad. So we've got the goalkeepers as Sanchez, Georgeson, Bettinelli, Disasi, Cucurella, Badishil, James, Gusto, Vega as the defenders. Midfield, we've got Fernandez, Madweki, Chukwemeka, and Kunku, Palmer, Dewsbury Hall, Caicedo, and Lavia. And forwards is Mudryk, Jackson, Neto, and Gui. Now, I think Tosin is in the defenders list, actually. I think he was an admin error, so he is in there. I think we have to win this game. We can't. There's a lot of people saying that we should switch and mix and match the lineup. I personally don't think we should do that. I think what we should do is possibly look at keeping a lot of the spine as it was against Man City, but changing certain things. I look at maybe who might start, and we have to. I mean, I think we need to stick with, because obviously Petrovic isn't there, so Jorgensen would probably have to be my goalkeeper. I mean, he played against Real Madrid, I think, and I think he came on a second half against Man City, I think, or he played another preseason game as well. But he for me, we can't play Sanchez and we can't play Bettinelli in goal. So I think that rules that one out there. My defenders, now I know Reece James has been included, but my worry is that he's not fully fit. And I know he can't play against Manchester United, but he's taken him. So I would wonder, why would you take him if you knew that he wasn't fully fit? Would you risk Reece James? Would you risk Reece James? I would risk Reece. I would, if he's fully fit. If it was a light hamstring muscle injury that he picked up and he can't play against Wolves on Sunday, then yeah, I'm gonna risk Reece James at right back. I think I played Tosin, and I would play Badishil as my centre backs, and I would play Vega as my left back, and I would rest Cucurella. I think Cucurella is going to be so vital against Wolves, and a lot more so this season. Obviously, if Chilwell's being exiled out of the club, you would say that Cucurella is now the number one left back at Chelsea. So I think we have to mix up the team somewhere. So I'd put in Vega. My midfield would be, probably be Lavia and Caicedo as a double. And then I think my three ahead of that would be, I would go with Cole Palmer. I would go with Carney Chukwemeka as the 10. And I'd go with Nkunku as my striker. And I think I would then go with Mudryk on the left. Yeah, that's what I'd do. I'd go Palmer right and Chukwemeka in the middle, Mudryk on the left, and then I'd go with Nkunku as my number 9. I wouldn't play Nicholas Jackson, and I think, oh no, not Mudryk. Silly me, I forgot we got Pedro Neto. Like, we don't need to play Mudryk anymore. We got Pedro Neto on the left, Cole Palmer on the right, and Chukwemeka in the middle with Nkunku as the 9. Then we do have options. Obviously, we've got Mudryk, we've got Nicholas Jackson, we've got Mark Wu that we can come on and play in those different roles as well. We'd obviously still have Enzo Fernandez as well, I think, on the bench that we could bring on. So I think we need to keep it respectful. I think we need to make sure we get through this leg of the tie respectfully and take a good lead back to the away leg and make sure that we're not sort of panicking in that second leg, needing a goal. It's 1-1 or it's 2-1 to them. We have to win respectfully tomorrow at Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. So I think if we can stick to what we did against Man City, because I thought we played really well, but we do have to swap a few things because we've got a massive turnaround. You know, it's Thursday tomorrow. Then we got the big game on against Wolves, where we do have to pick up 3 points, as I said before. You know, in one of the previews, that we can't afford to start seeing that gap already. I know it's only the first game of the season. We're going into the second in the Premier League, but we can't see that gap coming in the league already. So we have to win against Wolves. That's going to be a big game for us. But I think we need to keep some of the key players in the team. Cole Palmer, for me, has to play. You know, Caicedo, Lavia. I thought Lavia was amazing against Man City. So for me, he stays in the team. I think we need to give Petro Neto a full run-out debut at Stamford Bridge tomorrow. I think that'll do him a world of confidence because I think he will play on a Sunday. So I think maybe you start him, you sub him off if we're doing well on Thursday, and then you start him again on Sunday against Wolves. So I think he needs that. I think he needs to play to understand and link up with his teammates a bit more. And then Kunku, for me, has to start as a striker because I think this would be a perfect game for us to trial that. Because I think on Sunday, again, he might have to do that job because I don't think we can play Nicholas Jackson there. So we have to put Nkunku in there for me. He has to start in that role so that we can then see if he's able to do that on Sunday against Wolves as well. But overall, I'm impressed with Maresca so far in terms of his press conferences, in terms of how he's dealing with things. Yes, he's probably ruffling feathers in the fan base, but to be honest, we in 6 or 7 months we'd be moaning if we had 6 or 7 players just on the books, just sat there at Cobham. So, you know, and it was only not too long ago we were screaming that we had a massive squad. We've got a massive squad again. Players are going to have to leave. It's just what it is, unfortunately. But I do think the treatment of some of the players, you know, Ben Chilwell, especially Trevor Chalobah, who, you know, has never outspoken, never put a foot wrong. You know, when he's been called upon, he's put in a brilliant performance every single time. You know, I think players like that are being treated completely wrong. But the Raheem Sterlings and, you know, certain other players, come on, man, you've got to go. You're on 300 grand a week. You're not in a manager's plans. You're 29 years old. Come on, man, go find a club. Come on, go and find the club. Get off the books, man. We need the money back. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are about the result tomorrow. Are we going to win? Should we be winning the competition outright? I think we should. I think this is a perfect time to go and win that trophy, the Conference League trophy. I know it looks like a flower vase, but it doesn't matter. We'll still take it. And yeah, let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow with another match review after the game. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be back soon.